All right, guys, so now we are joined by Dallas Braden, former A's pitcher, current TV analyst, color commentator with the Athletics broadcast team. DB, good to see you. You know, we're a couple days away from your historic moment when you threw a perfect game. May 9th, 2010, just a couple days out from that. Of course, it was a special day, Mother's Day, thinking of your mom who passed away when you were in high school. Your grandmother Peggy was there. Do you still get chills when that day comes up on the calendar?
Every time, even the days leading up to it. I always say that being able to go to the ball field is truly a godsend for me because I get to share that day. It's like the coolest Groundhog Day ever because I get to relive those moments because inevitably fans come up and they talk about that day. They talk about remembering that day, where they were. I think what's funny is a lot of folks tell me stories about some of the trouble that they may have gotten into because they weren't where they were supposed to be on that day because they were stuck watching the TV. And I try to apologize. Look, I only had so much to do with that day. But I think that's the blessing. And that's how baseball continues to give me things that I feel like I'm not necessarily deserving of because of a day that my teammates and I have shared since that day, and we'll be able to share for the rest of our life. But the fact that my grandmother was there and still continues to get to celebrate and enjoy that moment and gets to enjoy the conversations that she sees me have with fans at the ball field. She's there a lot of the time. She won't be there this time because we will be in Baltimore, which is still a special place for us because it was where I made my major league debut.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like there's going to be a full circle moment where I made my major league debut in a place where I'm now also able to celebrate Mother's Day. And it means the world to me. And I don't know that I'll ever truly come to terms with how magnitudinal it is because I almost try to block it out at times because I jokingly tell everybody, look, it was one good day of work. I had one good day of work, but I'm happy to relive that day with fans who are willing to take the time and stop by and say hello.
Well, it was a perfect day of work. And you know what? It's just your energy, the same energy we see in the broadcast booth, you displayed as a player. And I was rewatching that moment after the game this morning, and I was just getting chills because it's not even just the way you're pointing to Peggy in the section, but it's the way you're celebrating with your team, your catcher, and all the players. And I always am thinking, likability in the locker room. We know likability is huge in media, right, and being on TV, but your likability amongst your teammates, I think, is such a fascinating thing. Sometimes when that perfect game and you're getting to that moment, right, and the players have to make the plays to support you in that endeavor, how much is likability overlooked in reaching a milestone like a perfect game or a no-hitter?
Well, I'll have a little fun with you here and tell you it couldn't have mattered much because the guy playing shortstop went to Texas A&M and I went to Texas Tech, and I'm not sure how much we liked each other back then. But Cliff Pennington, once we got to the big leagues, and Penny was a teammate of mine through the minor leagues, and him being the individual who fielded the final out, we laugh and joke about it all the time. He was like, I was so nervous, like you're almost thinking, anybody but me, hit it to anybody but me. And I know Cliff Pennington, the competitor, and I promise you there was nobody on that field that wanted the ball more than he did in that moment. But I think when your teammates understand how much work you put in and how important it is to win collectively to the individual on the mound, that gets them geared up to go out and want to make exceptional plays. I tell them, and I would joke with them, look, I'm not going to punch a ton of people out. There's going to be baseballs in play. So every day that I take the mound, you're going to have a great opportunity to make SportsCenter, to make any sort of highlight reel out there. And I think in the era of virality with videos today, they would have loved playing behind me today because every out is a chance for them to make an exceptional play, put their talent on display, their skill set to work. So sure, likability matters, but I think at the end of the day, when you know that you're there to win and everybody is pulling on the same rope in the same direction, that's what creates the wins. That's what creates the positive atmosphere because you know the guy to the left and the right of you are there to roll up the sleeves and get to work. And I wanted to give my teammates the best possible version of myself that I could every 5 days. And it just so happened that on that day, it worked out for everybody.
I can't imagine the nerves. I'm at my cubicle watching it. And this is, I mean, we're years later. This is the 19th perfect game in history. And I'm like getting nervous for Raji Davis. And so, like, I'm still feeling those. But let's look towards everything that's going on right now. So, of course, the A's in the top spot of the AL West. A lot of people may have not saw that coming. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. There was so much juice from last season with this young core of remarkable players. Did you anticipate, the A's, after stumbling out of the gate, they had a tough stretch early on the schedule this season. The MLB did them no favors. Now they've turned things around, the bullpen a little shaky, but did you anticipate to be in this spot right now in May, Mother's Day, first place AL West?
Yes, I anticipated to be competitive. And if that meant we were going to be sitting atop the division, so be it. And I felt like the first road trip was going to be a test out of the gate to really give us a gauge on who we were as a club, right? How well can you pitch? How well can you hit? Are you going to be able to play catch and play defense? Are you going to be able to tap guys down there in the bullpen? And whether it's them shaking out roles for themselves or just taking on the roles that they find themselves in and going out and performing and trying to do so consistently, I felt like that was going to be a good recipe for us to come away on the road trip competitive. And the fact that we were competitive off of that road trip, that matters, because you're going to Toronto to open the series. You go to Atlanta. You come home for 72 hours, basically. It wasn't really a homestand. It was 2.5 days where you're at home. And then you go and you hit the road. You go to New York. Pretty daunting task considering the expectations of those two clubs. You come off of that road trip 5-1. You're feeling pretty good about how things are starting to roll. And I think you watch guys emerge. I think about a guy like Joel Kuhnel, who joined us and came in, pitched in Yankee Stadium the day he got there, got a save the next day, and then in New York against the Mets, logged another 4-pitch, extremely efficient save. So you started to see guys, as they were showing up, fall in line and just say, yep, whenever you need me, I can go out there and I can get the job done. Now, there has been some struggle offensively, and I think it's been noted. Unfortunately, for a spell, we lost Brent Rooker, but what did that allow? It allowed Carlos Cortez to emerge and put together an incredible run. And you want to talk about taking advantage of the opportunities in front of you? I don't think there's a better example in baseball of Carlos Cortez taking advantage of the opportunities that were provided to him, unfortunately, again, with the departure and the injury of Brent Rooker. But Brent Rooker is back, and Brent Rooker is starting to see the ball much better than he was when he first got back off the injured list. We have guys like Tyler Soderstrom and Lawrence Butler who probably still aren't performing at the level that they would like to. And when you think about a third of your lineup essentially not swinging it the way that you know they're capable of, and you still sit in first place, even with some of the struggles that we've seen from the bullpen here recently, that speaks a lot to what I think the starting pitching has been able to do, which is give guys a chance to win ball games. And if you can hand the baseball to a guy like Jack Perkins, who up until about a week ago or so was the leader in baseball when it comes to wins probability added, all right? It wasn't Shohei Ohtani, right? It wasn't the best player in baseball who you would have identified. It was Jack Perkins out of the bullpen, being able to give you extended relief, being able to lock games down. So when you have that special mix that I just identified, I think you understand who this team is, who this team can be, and I think that's where the expectation comes from. So am I surprised that they sit in the spot they're in right now? Not at all.
Okay, a couple last things. I don't want to take up too much of your time. As a former lefty yourself, I'm curious, so many of these young prospects we've been talking from a plate perspective, Kurtz, Wilson, all these young guys. But let's talk about the pitching prospects. So, of course, we have 3 guys. We got Jamie Arnold, he's in Double-A. We got Gage Jump in Triple-A here in Vegas with the Aviators. And Wei-Yin Lin, another lefty in Double-A, a former pitcher. I'm curious to get your take on these guys. Do any of them have the potential to be, household names like we're seeing develop from the plate with the A's?
Each and every one of those left-handers has the ability to be a front-line starter. We'll start with Wei-Yin Lin. What I love about him is his attitude, the moxie, the presence. He expects great things from himself, not only in his side work, meaning his bullpen days, even in catch play. He is constantly evaluating himself and wants to be better than he was the day before. For me, that's a very, very clear indicator of a guy who is hungry, knows how good he is, but knows how good he wants to be, and is willing to do whatever it takes to get there. I love to see that kind of attitude and that kind of approach, especially from a kid at his age. And he's got incredible stuff from big time fastball. He's got a nasty changeup, curveball. I mean, he has a full complementary mix of stuff that can get you out and keep you off balance through 6, 7, 8+ innings. And I can't wait to see that at the big league level, but you don't want to rush guys. The same thing can be said for Jamie Arnold, who is going through his first year of professional baseball right now. And from that low slot that he works from and his ability to get down the slope, get down the mound, it at times can feel like he's kind of handing the baseball to the catcher. And that's where the 93s, the 95s start to feel like 6s and 7s, and he can get it up there to 96, 97. And if that's the case, now you're talking about a completely different animal. And then you go to Gage Jump, who might not be the most physically imposing individual, but it is a high octane cheese biscuit, folks. And that is top shelf fastball that have hitters have a very, very difficult time getting to. He's got a changeup that's in progress. He can spin it with the best of them. So there's no reason that we aren't likely going to see at least one of those individuals in the big leagues at some point in time this season. I balk at telling you that there's going to be 2 of them in the big leagues, because I think the idea is you want to make sure that these guys continue to grow, continue to learn how to pitch at a professional level. You also have to consider the health and making sure that their arms comes along, their bodies come along at the professional level. It takes about a year or 2 for you to be able to get into professional pitching shape. But the idea that these guys come with the arsenal that they do, they will have, in my opinion, no problem being able to make the adjustments at each and every level and one day be very, very good, if not great, frontline starters for this A's club.
Listen, you got to be high octane when your name's Gage Jump. That's a lot, a lot of pressure with a cool name like that. Last thing for you, because, only 5 years playing, but you really are the heart and soul of this athletics franchise. And as a kid who, grew up playing Little League in Stockton in the backyard, and, even you mentioned Texas Tech, but 2 years at American River College, so this was, you've always kind of had the A's in your backyard, and now, you played with the River Cats. Now you're at Sutter Health calling these games. Just tracing your personal history, your heart and soul with this team and all the, from Oakland to Sacramento and eventually to Vegas. It just must be so surreal for you. Explain a little bit what that feels like, especially having that big moment at home, as we spoke about earlier, with the perfect game at home in that stadium at the Coliseum. What is it like to just trace your personal history along with the franchise? Because it's you guys are like peanut butter and jelly.
I've been as lucky as anybody could ever be, and I'll tell you this: while I appreciate the sentiment that I'm the heartbeat, I can tell you right now, the fans are the heartbeat of this franchise, and the players, those are the ones who get the fans excited about what they're seeing on the field. But without the fan support, without the fan love, we are nothing, and that's something that will never ever escape me. That's something that I will never ever take for granted, is the fact that the fans are the driving force behind what I get to do each and every day of my life. So I am forever eternally grateful for the fans. Secondarily, I grew up in Stockton. I played A-ball in Stockton for the Ports. Being able to wear my hometown team across my chest is one of the proudest moments in my professional career as a player. It's one of the proudest moments in my life as a human being. I went to Texas Tech University, which is about an hour and a half or so away from Midland, Texas, where I played AA ball for the Rockhounds. And then you go to Sacramento for the River Cats, a place I spent 2 years of my life playing junior college ball at American River College for the Beavers, who unfortunately did just fall in the first round of the playoffs, but they've got a great group, and I think they're going to be even better than they were next year than they were this year. So playing in AAA, I'm playing in a ballpark that I was familiar with, playing in a town that I had grown up going to as a kid in Stockton, and then I get to the big leagues, and I go to the Oakland Coliseum to play in a place that I grew up going to, cheering on players that I grew up watching. And now I'm wearing that uniform. So every step of the way, I've been afforded the opportunity to be at home. And again, the fans, every step of the way are what makes that feel like home, because I'm pitching in front of friends and family in Stockton. I'm pitching in front of friends and alumni in Midland, Texas. I'm pitching in front of friends and family again in Sacramento, and the same can be said at the Oakland Coliseum. So there is nobody who's had a homier road to the big leagues than myself. And there really is. It felt like I was pitching in red ruby slippers, because everywhere it felt like home. And there's no place like home, as Dorothy said.
Well, you know what? You just really encapsulate and show us how this sport is sometimes just bigger than baseball, and we appreciate that. You remind us of that daily with your heart, your soul, and what you bring to the broadcast and what you brought as an ace. So we appreciate it, especially as we're heading up to Mother's Day weekend. So thanks so much, Dallas. We're thinking of you. We love you, and we appreciate all this time you gave us.
Can't thank you enough for thinking of me. I appreciate it. We'll chat anytime, my man.
Thank you.